When it comes to the series as a whole, it has really interesting characters, ranging from a precious cinnamon roll that needs to be protected at all costs to a bag of rocks with a dumb haircut. I find it funny though that the Birth by Sleep trio have the personality of Sad to Linkin Park, and yet Naminé, yes, Naminé, has more complexity and overall is more interesting than the three of them combined. The odd thing about that though, other than Naminé's ability to test everyone's patience so hard I'm pretty sure she's getting off to it, is that aside from Kairi and those connected to her through Sora, there really isn't a named original female character. Well, besides the obvious.
Although... I'm a bad guy, so you have to go through me.
Larxene is one of, if not the second best, character this series has ever created. She's most certainly the best thing to come out of Chain of Memories, and yes, I'm including Mr. Sparky Eyeliner over here. She has the most bombastic personality out of anyone in the castle, and her voice acting is top-notch stuff. No matter what she's doing or who she's talking to, she almost has this cat playing with a mouse vibe to her. I mean, this woman never stops surprising me with how good her delivery is, to the point that in that game, she outclasses Sora by sheer personality alone. Oh yeah, Lady Lightning here beats out Precious Good Boy in the second game in the series. She's that flipping good. She toys with him, plays with him, and overall treats Sora and Naminé like dolls for her amusement rather than actual flesh and blood people. She has such an overwhelming presence that it makes a shitty game 20 times better when she's on screen. And you know what? I love villains like that, and it's a shame more games don't do it like this anymore. So let's talk about Nier Automata. When it comes to more modern games, they tend to go for a sympathetic or flat-out misunderstood baddie as their monster of the day, and a recent example of this is found in Nier Automata, of all things, which really upset me when I figured this out. In this game, you're tasked with stopping the robot army that has taken over the world. Simple setup with a lot of room for a hammy antagonist, which is sort of there. I'll swing back to these two in a second. Instead, most of the first two playthroughs of the game is generic steampunk robot with nothing more than the idea of exterminate anything remotely human looking. And the third playthrough was all about learning how the robots were actual thinking, feeling, soul-based beings, to the point they have sex and even have a religion. Nier is a weird series, which kinda just kills the fun for me. Not the fact that Yoko Taro, the game's director, thought that robots fucking was a funny idea, it kind of is, but the fact that our bloodthirsty killing machines are now passive bystanders in a war, even though many of the same ones you come across are trying to kill you, which admittedly is an interesting faction of these things, but it's still inconsistent. With the base setup out of the way, we come to our two naked blonde pretty boys. These two are the oddest things in the game to me, and the reason for that is simply due to how they're handled. They are literally born, crack a few jokes at our heroes, and then proceed to kick their ass because apparently toddlers are the most destructive thing in the known universe all of a sudden? I don't know, man. Anyway, these two start out on a great note, but then, almost immediately, they start questioning life and getting really philosophical on what it means to be right and wrong and blah 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 blah. Oh my god, I don't care. Go back to being fun, campy villains that were made to be dumbasses on a killing spree, not Professor X. This also applies to Marluxia as well, if you were wondering how this connects to Kingdom Hearts. Hell, the main characters are basically emotionless mops that can slide around on sand and who have clearly never missed leg day. So, having a hammy villain that just wants to ham it up for the almighty Tim Curry in the sky is much more needed than you think. And yet, the game went the Steven Universe approach of having the genocidal fuckwads be the most stoic and one-dimensional characters who we're supposed to give a fuck about because they read a book or two and learned that killing was wrong, rather than just being some crazy asshole that wants to kill for some other reason and laugh like the Joker in the third act of a Batman movie while doing it. And this is where we circle back to Kingdom Hearts and my precious, snarky, sparky, lovely, lethal leading lady. The organization, from the word go, had a goal other than killing Heartless to fuel Kingdom Hearts. I mean, yeah, from the player's perspective, the goal changed a fair bit, but in universe, the goal was always the same, that being recruit Sora into the organization. In Chain of Memories, it was through his memories. Yeah, good right in there, Chris. In Kingdom Hearts 2 and 358 over 2 days, it was via Roxas, and in Dream Drop Distance, they wanted his body. And all of that was done while the villains of the story sat there and laughed like crazy, or said a kitschy phrase, or hell, just played an invisible upside down piano to the tune of Darkness, which I hear is getting a remix in the next game. Darkness. That's what defines the series, the villains. And when it comes to the roster we got, all the boring ones have either been killed off or retconned into similar but still not them characters. After the events of Kingdom Hearts 2, almost all of the members of the organization were put back together and were free to roam around and do as they please. But Brig and Lorena aren't found, and thus we see her in trailers for Kingdom Hearts 3. And this is exactly what I wanted, because she will give a good performance even if she goes out like a chump like she did in Chain of Memories. Villains, in general, need to be more fun like this. For the love of God, God of War 4 had the main twist be that your son is going to betray you in a later game, because apparently he's Loki or some shit. Anyway, that's just kinda dumb. Yeah, that might have hit emotionally, but when it comes to having fun, a little kid bitching at me and screaming in my ear about things I know are coming to then try and position themselves as the bad guy of the next game for me to give a fuck about isn't going to work the way you think it will. Let's go back to Nier really fast to explain this a bit better. Man, this game is just full of helpful bad guys today, isn't it? The big twist about Routes 3 and 4 is that one of the main characters dies at the end of Route 2. The character called 2B downloaded her data into her pod and new semi-body A1. A1 has been something of a nuisance to you and the other playable character, 9S, who, upon seeing what he thinks is A1 murdering 2B, rather than it being the mercy kill that it is, don't ask, we don't have time, loses his goddamn mind and slowly goes insane from the fact that he just lost his potential girlfriend, actual best friend, and partner, as well as being corrupted by the virus that is consuming all the Yorha units. 9S then goes on a killing spree to eradicate all the robots in the area you're stationed in, and he hams it up, to the point I think I'm good on pork for the next decade. This works a hell of a lot better than Atreus, because A, we've played as Nines and gotten a direct line into his thoughts, and B, we've seen how he and 2B have grown over the course of the game and become closer as partners. Not saying that Atreus and Kratos don't bond over the course of the game, but it's in a fundamentally different way than our two precious good bots. These two are parent and child. These two are equals that require mutual respect to try and save the fucking world, which makes Nine's whole descent into madness all the more heartbreaking, and overall, funny and very much needed for the game. Yes, after this, Nines gets less funny as we draw closer to the climax between him and A1, but his wild mood swings and still bubbly personality clash in a way that made me chuckle once or twice during this section of the game, and it made me care more when I had to choose if I wanted to kill a woman who had done nothing wrong, at least from the player's point of view, or put 9S out of his misery. And ultimately, I chose the latter because he needed to rest. This game had a boring main antagonist, but ended up having a great final secret boss by having you see every angle and choosing what you feel is right, along with us having someone we like and got to think was fun until the bitter end. Kingdom Hearts probably won't ever do that, but when it comes to how the villains of the series are treated, it seems like Nomura has fallen on the same side of the issue I have, that being fun for the sake of a good time. All the fun villains are kept, and the only one they killed off entirely they brought back because she demanded to be revived in Nomura's mind. He didn't have to pick Larxene, he could have picked Ienzo or even Evan, but no, he picked the best girl in town, and I'm glad he did. Larxene is my favorite girl in the franchise, and I can't wait to be shocked by her again and again and again until I throw my controller through her gravity-defying Stitch antennae. My name is Chris, and god damn it, she's so cool!